Welcome to the deep dive. We dig into sources, articles, guides, notes, pull out the key insights, and basically give you a shortcut to getting informed. Today, we're diving into something that, well, honestly sounds pretty mundane at first glance. Your daily routine. I mean, it's so common, right? So universal. You might think, what's really there to unpack? But stick with us, because I think by the end of this, you'll see your own day, maybe action by action, a bit differently. Our main source today is excerpts from your daily English routine, a language learning guide. Now, okay, it sounds like it's just about learning English, and it is, partly, but it's also this fascinating window into how we structure our lives, how language captures that structure, and what that tells us about ourselves. So our mission isn't just grabbing language tips, though we'll definitely do that. It's really about understanding why routines are such a powerful tool for communication, sure, but also for self-reflection, for understanding habits. Get ready to maybe rethink your day a little.
Yeah, and that universality you mentioned, that's exactly where the really interesting stuff lies. Routines, they're everywhere. Every culture, every society. It doesn't matter where you are or how you live, which makes them this really fundamental starting point for getting into a new language. And, the culture behind it, when you talk about your day, it's not just a list, is it? You're talking about how you live, the choices you make, how you interact with everything around you. And even in those really simple actions, brushing your teeth, whatever, there are these subtle complexities. Patterns. Language is just incredibly efficient at reflecting those little nuances.
Yeah.
Waking up. It's not just bam, you're awake. It's often a process, right? Alarm, maybe hitting snooze, then actually getting out of bed. So the guide, even though it's focused on language, ends up highlighting these deeper human things. And it's fascinating how something so familiar can unlock so much.
About language, yeah, but also about us. That's why this is going to be good.
That universality really grounds it, doesn't it? It makes it instantly relatable, which is perfect because the first thing the guide does is just lay out the basic definition. What is a daily routine? So let's start right there. The guide defines it as a set of things you do every day, usually at the same time. Simple enough. It's your regular day-to-day schedule. But think about that phrase. A set of things. That implies order, right? Repetition, predictability. These are kind of the building blocks of our days. And the guide gives those classic examples we all know. You wake up, you brush your teeth, you eat breakfast, you go to work or school, and so on. Just the basic rhythm for so many people. And here's the language link the guide makes straight away, and you hear this all the time in English. When you talk about these regular everyday things, these habits, you almost always use the present simple tense. It's just the go-to for stuff that happens over and over, facts about your life. The guide nails it with this example sentence. Super simple but effective. I wake up at 7 a.m., I brush my teeth, then I take a shower and get dressed. After that, I eat breakfast and go to work. It's so direct. But it perfectly sketches out a typical morning. And that simplicity is key, not just for learners, but for anyone wanting to be clear about their day. It's like the basic grammar of being regular.
Right. And if you kind of zoom out that whole concept of a routine, it taps into something really fundamental about us as humans. We need structure. We need predictability. Psychologically, routines are huge. They give you that sense of order when the world can feel, pretty chaotic. And crucially, they cut down on decision fatigue. Think about it. Imagine if every single morning you had to genuinely decide, okay, should I brush my teeth now? Or get dressed first? What breakfast today? Which route to work? That's exhausting before you've even really started. Routines automate all those tiny decisions. They're like mental shortcuts, so you save your brain power for the bigger stuff later on. The tricky problem, the unexpected thing, actually being creative. It's not just about being efficient, it's about managing your mental energy. That's why routines are so basic to how we operate. They create this stable framework. Which brings us back to that question the guide kind of answers implicitly. Why the present simple tense for routines is because that tense is built for habits, for regular actions, general truth, things that just are. It focuses on the fact that the action happens regularly. Not whether it's happening right now or happened yesterday or will happen tomorrow. I am waking up as now. I woke up as past. I will wake up as future. But I wake up at 7. That's just the pattern, the enduring truth of your schedule. It strips away the timing specifics to focus on the regularity. It's the perfect tense for describing that steady rhythm of life. Simple, clear, essential. And, the guide doesn't spell this out, but while the idea of a routine is universal, the content, well, that changes hugely depending on culture, right? Like what people eat for breakfast or how they get to work. In some places, breakfast is quick, maybe just coffee. Elsewhere, it's a big family meal. Your commute could be a bus, or it could be a scooter, a ferry, a packed subway train. Even the whole 9 to 5 thing isn't universal. You've got siestas, different work weeks. So these routines, they embed all these cultural details within that universal need for structure. The guidance example gives us one specific version, which kind of highlights how language and lived experience are just so tied together.
That's such a great point. How the same basic structure, wake up, eat, work, sleep, can look so different around the world. And that idea of structure really clicks when the guide moves from just defining it to showing us a full example. This is where it gets really concrete. The guide walks us through a sample day. It's like stepping into someone else's schedule for a minute. It's not just vocabulary, it feels like a little story. Here's how it goes. I wake up at 7 o'clock. I turn off my alarm. I get out of bed and stretch. I brush my teeth. I take a shower. I get dressed. I eat breakfast. I leave the house at 8 a.m. I take the bus to work. I start work at 9. I eat lunch at 1 p.m. I finish work at 5. I go home, relax, and have dinner. I watch TV or read a book. I go to bed at 10 p.m. Pretty straightforward, right? Very linear, consistent. And the guy points out, yeah, this is just one example. Everyone's different. Maybe you work from home, maybe you're a student, maybe you do shift work with totally different hours. The point isn't that this is the only way, but it shows how these simple verbs and times string together to make a whole day understandable. It's like a template.
Absolutely. And analyzing that specific template tells us quite a bit, actually. That 7 a.m. wake up, 8 a.m. leave, 9 to 5 work, fixed lunch, evening relaxation. That paints a picture, doesn't it? It strongly suggests pretty standard, probably office-based commuter lifestyle common in many Western or industrialized societies. It implies a day structured around work, then a clear shift to personal time. It's a very recognizable rhythm for a lot of people. What's really effective communication-wise is the sequence, the logical flow. How do these simple sentences build a narrative? It's all chronological. Each step follows the last. That makes it incredibly easy to follow, to visualize the day unfolding. No confusion, just clear progression. Sequence is just vital for describing actions clearly. And then there's the stuff that isn't said, but you kind of infer it, right? Like get dressed for work. That implies, choosing specific clothes, maybe uniform or office attire, fitting into a social context. Or relax and have dinner. That suggests the need to unwind after the structure of the workday. Maybe it was stressful, maybe just demanding. Downtime becomes important. Even watch TV or read a book. Common ways people decompress in the evening. These little implied details add a lot of depth to what looks like a simple list. They give you a fuller sense of the person's life. So what stands out to you is, when you hear that routine, does it feel familiar? Or totally alien? Maybe that go to bed at 10 p.m. feels really rigid to someone who's more spontaneous. And thinking about how yours compares, that tells you something about your own priorities, your lifestyle, maybe even your culture. It really highlights the massive variety in human experience, even within this universal framework. Oh, and the guide's idea of repeat after me, that's interesting too. For learners, repeating it doesn't just teach the words, it kind of embeds the feeling of the routine itself, connecting the language to the actions in a really physical way, almost like muscle memory for language.
That's a fascinating take. How much is implied? How much identity is wrapped up in these simple daily steps? Makes you think. Okay, so that sample day is built using these core pieces, the verbs, the expressions that are the real workhorses of describing daily life. And the guide does a great job just zeroing in on the most useful ones. These aren't rare words, they're the basics you use constantly. Presented really clearly, too. Let's run through them quickly, because each one has a little something. Wake up, stop sleeping, get up, get out of bed. Okay, those two sound similar, but we need to dig into that difference. Brush your teeth, the guide says, very important. And yeah, it is. Both practically and as a routine marker. Take a shower, wash yourself. Notice take. That verb does a lot of work. Get dressed, put on clothes, have breakfast, lunch, dinner to eat. Again, notice have, not just eat. Go to work, school, heading out to your main activity. Come home, returning, complete to the cycle. And go to bed, time for sleep. What's really striking, and the guide highlights this, notice how we often use short and simple phrases. In real life, people speak this way naturally. That's such a key insight, isn't it? For anyone learning English, or just trying to communicate better, you don't need complex sentences for this stuff. Simple, direct, that's often the most natural and effective way. Clarity often comes from simplicity.
Definitely. And those subtle distinctions you mentioned are crucial. Take wake up versus get up. Wake up is really about the mental shift, right? Mm-hmm. Consciousness returning. You can wake up and just lie there for ages. Get up is the physical act, leaving the bed. That difference lets you be much more precise about your morning. It reflects reality. And take a shower. Yeah, that use of take is classic collocation, words that just naturally go together. Learners might try a direct translation like make a shower or something, which sounds odd. But knowing you take a shower, take a bath, take a walk, take a break, that unlocks a huge chunk of natural-sounding English. It's about those common pairings. Same with have, for meals, have breakfast, have lunch. You can say eat breakfast, but have is often more common, more natural. Kind of implies the whole experience, the ritual, maybe the social part, not just the physical act of eating. It feels a bit broader, more idiomatic. Are there other common slip-ups with these basic verbs you often see?
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes it's overthinking using a fancier verb when a simple one like get or go is perfect. Or maybe forgetting prepositions like you mentioned earlier, saying go work instead of go to work. Those little words matter a lot for clarity and sounding natural. It's often those small, high-frequency bits that are trickiest because the rules aren't always obvious.
Exactly. And those directional ones, go to work versus come home, they're all about perspective. Go to means moving away from where you are now. Come home means returning to your base. They orient the listener. Getting them mixed up can be confusing. And that point about short and simple phrases being natural, it's so true. Why do we default to simplicity for routines? Probably because they are simple, repeated actions. There's no need for fancy language. Clarity and efficiency are key in everyday talk. It shows that fluency isn't about complexity. It's about using the right language naturally. For routines, that means keeping it straightforward. Less is often more here.
Okay, so we understand the structure, the language, the vocabulary. What does this mean for you, the listener? How can you use this? Well, the guide gives some really good prompts to get you practicing your own routine. It's about making it active, personal. The questions are designed to guide you through it. What time do you wake up? What do you do in the morning? Who? How do you go to work or school? What do you do in the afternoon? How do you relax in the evening? Who? See how they break the day down, makes it less daunting. And it suggests answering out loud or writing it down, different ways to practice speaking or writing. It's all about applying it to your life.
Yeah. And pedagogically, those questions are brilliant scaffolding. They give you a structure. Instead of facing a blank page thinking, describe my day, you get these specific starting points. It lowers the pressure, builds confidence step by step. But, like we touched on earlier, answering them does more than just practice English. It makes you reflect on your own habits, doesn't it? Your priorities, how your day flows. You might notice, I spend 3 hours scrolling my phone, or I never make time for breakfast. It becomes this little moment of self-analysis, almost like being your own anthropologist. You start seeing your patterns. And the suggestion for speaking or writing is great too. Speaking helps with fluency, pronunciation. Writing helps with vocabulary, grammar, getting thoughts organized. Both are valuable.
That's so true. The self-reflection part is almost a hidden benefit. But the guide doesn't stop at just listing actions. It gives tips to make your descriptions sound genuinely natural, more detailed, more fluid. It breaks these down into 3 key areas: time expressions, adding details, and linking words. These are like the upgrades, taking you from basic sentences to a richer narrative.
Absolutely. Let's dig into those because they really make a difference. First, time expressions like at 7 a.m. in the morning, after work, before bed. What's fascinating is how these little phrases totally change the picture. They give precision, context. Without them, it's just a list. With them, you know when things happen. It anchors the actions in time, makes the whole thing much clearer, paints that fuller picture, it gives the day its rhythm. Then adding details, things like I drink coffee while I check my emails, or I listen to podcasts on the way to work. This is where your personality comes in. It transforms a generic routine into your routine. It shows your interests, your habits, how you multitask, what makes your day unique. You know, someone listening to a deep dive like this, you appreciate those specifics, right? They make it real, memorable, human. That's what these details do for your own description.
Exactly. Those details are everything. They turn it from black and white into color.
Totally. And finally, linking words. Then after that, finally, like in I wake up, then I make my bed. After that, I take a shower. So how do these tiny words work? They're basically the glue. They connect the sentences smoothly. Without them, it can sound choppy, like bullet points. With them, it flows. It creates a logical sequence, makes it easy for someone to follow your story. Cohesion, that's what they provide. And when you put all 3 together, time expressions for context, details for personality, linking words for flow, that's when your description really comes alive. It becomes richer, more natural, more confident. You're not just listing facts. You're telling the story of your day in a way that sounds authentic.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive today, the main takeaway seems pretty clear. Daily routines are this incredibly useful, universal topic. Great for language practice, yeah, but also surprisingly deep for understanding ourselves and how we communicate. The guide's final advice really nails it. Write down your daily routine in English. Keep it simple. Use short sentences and common verbs. And read it out loud every day to practice your speaking. It's practical, actionable, not just theory. And I love the final thought from the source. 1 dose of English a day keeps the fear away. It's about building that confidence through consistency.
Yeah, exactly. And building on that, maybe stepping back just a little from only the language side. If our routines really do reflect our actions and priorities so clearly, what else can we learn by looking at them closely, not just for English practice, but for, life itself? Could consciously understanding, maybe even designing our routines right down to small stuff, be a key not just to fluency, but maybe to a more intentional, more fulfilling life? Think about it. Each small, repeated action builds up. It shapes who we are, what matters to us, the language we use, the life we structure. Maybe they're just two sides of the same coin, constantly influencing each other. So maybe continue your own deep dive. Look at your own patterns. You might be surprised what you find there.